Hey, I happen to be here at Wekiwa Springs today, and it's not too crowded. As you can see, a few people swimming and gadding about. And it really is a beautiful day. And I wish I had a floating camera so that I could be doing it from in the springs itself. But that technology is beyond my means. But welcome. Thank you guys once again. Things do seem to be easing up, and maybe shortly we'll be able to meet together. That would be pretty cool. And as a matter of fact, if you have been helping out at the table, you know that they already met on Thursday, and so that's starting to open up too. It looks different, of course, because what doesn't look different, but still pretty cool that that's actually able to happen. And I hope that soon, we'll be able to, get normal someday, but not today. So for right now, here we are. Welcome to Sunday School again. Thank you all for your continued support of the church and for your kind responses to Sunday School continuing and your ongoing prayer requests and sending those in, so that's pretty cool. Last week we talked about Moses getting his call with the burning bush and what was that all about, and the fact that there were many Moseses there in the call. There's the Prince of Egypt Moses and the escaped murderer Moses and the illegally born Moses and the refugee Moses, the guy who married a foreign woman Moses, all of those Moseses that God called to be there in that situation. And now here we are. It's of course a lot of water's coming under the bridge right there, but here we are at the Passover, Exodus chapter 12. And I'm going to go 1 through 14. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month is to be the first of all others for you, the first month of your year. Speak to the whole community of Israel and say, on the 10th day of this month, each man must take an animal from the flock, one for each family, one animal for each household. If the household is too small to eat the animal, a man must join with his neighbor, he nearest to his house, as the number of person requires. You must take into account that what each can eat in deciding the number for the animal. It must be an animal without blemish, a male, 1 year old. You may take it from either the sheep or the goats. You must keep it till the 14th day of the month, when the whole assembly of the community of Israel shall slaughter it between the 2 evenings. Some of the blood must be taken and put on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the house where it is eaten. That night the flesh is to be eaten, roasted over the fire. It must be eaten with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled, but roasted over the fire, head, feet, and entrails. You must not leave any over till morning. Whatever is left till morning, you are to burn it. You shall eat it like this, with a girdle around your waist, sandals on your feet, staff in your hand. You will eat it hastily. It is a Passover. In honor of the Lord. That night I will go through the land of Egypt and strike down all the firstborn in the land, man and beast alike. I shall deal out punishment to the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood shall serve to mark the houses you lived in. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and you shall escape the destroying plague when I strike the land of Egypt. This day is to be the day of remembrance for you. You must celebrate it as a feast in Yahweh's honor for all generations. You are to declare it a festival forever." And that's the beginning of the Passover, but also you recognize the beginning of their liberation. This is the night of liberation when it's happening. This is it. And the Lord has said, here's what's going to be happening. You're going to take the lamb, although now we call a immature goat a kid, but you could take a sheep or a goat and have it ready, and although I prefer lamb to goat, if it was happening, but there it is. And they were to roast it, but they weren't to prepare it as you normally would. Because you see the special nature of the whole thing was to be eaten in haste. You were to eat it with, with your traveling clothes on. Eat it quick, unleavened bread, and then burn the rest. Nothing left over, because of course you were supposed to be ready to go. So the Passover was the Passover, but also the beginning of really Israel. Now, a lot of people trace the giving of the law as the beginning of Israel as a nation, but this is the beginning of Israel as the free people, because the Lord said, here we go, I'm going to make it so that you're able to leave now, and here's how it's going to happen. And the whole thing was to be done in the context of, we're ready to go, we're ready to hit the bricks. And as soon as that happens, we're not going to hang around anymore. So from that standpoint, you recognize that what God was after was that before the miracle was happening, prior to the miracle, they were to be ready to go as though the miracle had happened. Now, you saw that a bunch of other places, right? I mean, throughout their travels, and we'll see it again. But they are to act as though the miracle has happened. They're to be ready for the miracle in faith. And then it's time to go. They're to be dressed and ready before the miracle has happened, which is pretty amazing when you get right down to it. Here, I'll let you see some more of the spring in the boil there while I'm talking. They're to be ready to go. Just like, if you were coming to the spring to swim, what would you do? Would you put on your formal attire and then say, oh, look, a spring? Well, no, you'd be ready to go. You got your bathing suit, all happening, so that when you get here, you can, clamber on down and hop on in. Now, the water is 72 degrees, as you know, so take that into account when you go hopping in. But you're ready. Now, when I was a kid and we'd come here, my mom would make us be ready, because what did I know? But I was always, once I'd come the first time, I was always excited. And we'd, come running down the hill. They didn't have steps when we first came. It was just, the whole hill. But we'd come flying down and just hop in the water, and it would be up to, Mom and Dad to put the blanket out and get the sandwiches ready and all that stuff that we came. And, that was the case when my mom came, because she came as a kid. And as a matter of fact, my grandfather came. And we have a picture. If you looked at the videotape of my mom that I sent out, you'll see that she had a picture from 1898 when my grandfather came as a 9-year-old with his family when they still lived in Ocoee, and this was called Clay Springs, and they came to hang out at Clay Springs for the day, and somebody had a camera and took a picture of my grandfather's family with my great-grandmother sitting in a boat, my great-grandfather and great-grandmother sitting in a boat, and everybody else just plopped, and it was actually right over there. Well, you can't see it from here, but it's right over in this little section right over here, and it was pretty cool because that was the spot where you could go dig for clay. Now, you can't do it now because they say you can't take anything out, but there are still clay deposits there, but just as an aside, right on the way out. And if you ever come and hang out there, now it's all, of course, has cement. But we'd be ready to go because my parents, would make us be ready. God's saying the same thing to the Israelites, is that you got to be ready. You got to have your clothes on, ready for it to happen. And they had only experienced miracles secondhand up to that point. Remember, Moses had done all of these, the frogs and the hail and all of those things, rather objectionable miracles, but they were miracles nonetheless. Things that God was making happen to change Pharaoh's mind. And now, here it is that Moses is going around saying, okay, here's the deal. God told me that this is the beginning for us. We're going to be leaving here soon. Get your clothes on, roast a kid or a lamb, and then be ready to go. And for the rest of the existence of Israel, they were to carry out this, and of course they do. You can, in springtime, every observant Jewish family still celebrates Passover. In a more prescribed way, of course. They don't all just, roast a whole kid anymore, but it's been made according to, certain rituals to replicate that. Because, try to go get a live goat today. I mean, you can. That there are places where you can still get that if you'd like, but many families just make other arrangements because of urban living and that. But they do it as a remembrance of that, and they do it in a way that reminds them of God's action in their life at that time, what God did for them, and the fact that they were ready to go. They were anticipating the miracle before it happened. And in that sense, I think that's where we need to be. That we've seen God's action in our lives. We've experienced God's miracle. I have experienced God's touch in my life. And now we're looking at a time when, we're having a hard time. Now I'm here at Wekiwa Springs, but I came when it was pretty, when I could be distant from everyone. But, it's hard as we recognize the tough time that the church is in. It's difficult all around. It's difficult. And looking at how is that going to happen for us, it's going to take a miracle. And I think that the miracle that it's going to take is the miracle of us being ready for God's miracle. It's us anticipating the fact that God really is going to bring us back and enable us to be the witnesses we always needed to be, so that we had used this time of trial to be better able to carry God's message, to be better able to be the citizens of the kingdom that God has been training us to be. And in that sense that we can, step up to be God's people in a way that we might have skated on before, and that now we can, recognize it's time to have the traveling clothes on in anticipation of how God is going to bless us tomorrow, next week, next month, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and here on down, and how it's going to be, it always has been up to God, but it's going to be up to God to be working in and through us in a way that we might not have recognized our need for before, and now we do. So, get your traveling clothes out. In here it said get your girdles ready to, cinch up. I have a cummerbund, but not a girdle. But to get those ready. Just like, you come here, you've got your swimming suit on, ready for a good time. Have your traveling clothes ready to be working for God, ready for the miracle that He's going to do in us and through us, so that we can be the difference makers God intended for us always to be, so that we can be those people that make a difference in the kingdom. That's pretty cool that we can do that. And so that's part of the anticipation that we're going to be doing. Looking forward to the fact that God really will be working in our lives in a new and different way, touching us in a way that's going to reverberate through our own lives and through the lives of the community around us. That's the God we worship. It's pretty cool. Thank you guys for your continued support, for your work. I appreciate it. Love you guys. And keep those cards and letters coming. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.